All of the following are from the Ask Reddit post, Where's Your Creepiest Real Life Story? Let's begin. I lived in a small college town, and my apartment complex was walking distance from the bar/downtown area. One weekday night, I stepped out on our front porch to smoke a cigarette or two. I was up late studying. I brought my textbook with me and sat down on the stairs while I smoked. A girl who I had never met, but who lived one apartment over but down on the ground floor, came home from downtown. She was by herself, and you could tell from her walk she had been drinking. She got in her apartment and barely got the door closed before some guy who came out of nowhere knocked on her door. She opened, and I noticed he introduced himself, which was weird because it was after 2:30 a.m. Who comes to a strange girl's apartment at that time? So I decided to stay outside and pay attention. They ended up talking for over 10 minutes. She later acknowledged how weird the situation was, but did not know how to end the conversation. He would do the creepiest things, like he reached up and strokes her hair at least 3 times, and would try and slowly inch his way closer to her and the door. I made a point of being loud with my textbook, so he would know I was there, and he disappeared as eerily as he had come. We called the cops, and days later they had the girl and me sit with a sketch artist. As soon as the sketch was made public, floods of calls came in. Guy turned out to be a serial rapist who followed lone girls home from bars and pretended to be a cab offering them a ride. This girl just got lucky because she lived so close to the bars. He didn't get a chance to pull the cab routine. Went camping with some friends on a hill, a few kilometers out in the woods from one of the guy's house. There was a few hiking/four-wheeling trails in the area that led up to the hill, so it's known by the locals. It was about midnight. We had a fire going and were just sitting around having a good time. Then the guy, there was 4 of us, sitting opposite of me, yells, "Who are you?" I turn around and there's this man, about 6 feet tall, staring at us from the edge of the woods, with a big rock in his hand. One guy knocked an arrow in the compound bow we had. The guy across from me grabbed the hatchet, and I pulled the knife off my belt. We had no clue what we were doing, but the guy wouldn't say anything to us. He eventually just backed into the woods. No sleep was had that night, and we kept a very large fire going. I'm 11 hours late, but I'll share this anyway in case anyone wants a creepy tale. About 6 years ago, I was in my final year of high school, and due to the weird timetable that 12th grade had at my school, we regularly had 2+ hour breaks between classes, early finishes, and longer lunch breaks. My house was about a 20-minute walk away from school, and I would usually just come home, either by myself or with a friend, and chill until we had to head back. My school was located on the outskirts of the city, and my house was a little bit further out. I lived on about 40 acres on a dirt road. Along the dirt road, I had been passing a really foul smell about 5 minutes away from my house. I couldn't tell where the smell was coming from, but it was definitely close to the road. I had passed the smell about 4 times over roughly a week of school, but figured it was a dead animal due to the area. After an exam, I was walking home with a friend, and the smell was worse than ever, so as you do, we decided to walk into the grass to search for whatever the smell was. We ended up finding a black garbage bag that was completely blown up like a balloon about 5 meters from the road. As a joke, I threw a rock at it, and it popped and shot out its foul white goo, and immediately my friend and I started dry reaching. We ran away as fast as we could, laughing and vomiting, back home to my place. I didn't think anything of it, as I figured it was a cat or something that someone had dumped. I remember walking back from school the next week, by myself, and there were mounted police on their horses walking down the road slowly, and near one of the entrances to my property, there was a dog squad with sniffer dogs walking around. I didn't take much notice of all the police and what they were doing, but literally as soon as I got closer to the area that we had found the bag, I had a sinking feeling in my stomach and thought, oh crap. The bag ended up being the body of a girl who had been murdered and was dumped along the fence line of my property. I still feel sick when I think about it. I worked at a campground on night shift, 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. every night. It wasn't bad. I would bring in my PS2 and game a good portion of the night, only having to deal with 1 or 2 people on busy nights. It was just me in this little 8 foot by 8 foot shack with nothing around but dark all night. My first week there, the other third shift guy who was quitting told me about this payphone a few feet from the shack where I worked. He said it rang every night at 4:17 a.m. just once. It was probably just an automated test call, he guessed. He's never answered it himself. I go for a few months with the job. It was the middle of summer, so most nights I had the windows closed so I couldn't hear the payphone go off. Mid-August, I started leaving the windows open during the night. Sure enough, at 4:17 a.m. every morning, the phone would ring once. The ring even sounded creepy, like the payphone was submerged in water then put where it sat. One night, I got the nerve to answer it. I set an alarm at 4:15 and would go wait at the phone until it rang. When it did, I answered it, but there was no sound, just dead air, like someone was on the other line but wasn't answering. I said hello a few times and hung up. I did this every night for a week with the same results. I didn't think anything of it and left it alone after that for about a month. The first week of October, I decided to answer the phone once again. I set my alarm, and when the time came, I answered the phone. Hello? Hello? Then I heard what sounded like someone inhaling through clenched teeth. The voice that sounded was rough and sounded like he had gargled gravel. The best comparison I can give is Horace P. Gage from The Suffering. He said my name, my complete name, first, middle, and last. It was a voice I'd never heard. My voice caught in my throat and I hung up. I routed some change into the payphone and hit star 69. The number had come from California. I lived in Indiana.